I was secretly in love with my best friend's aunt for 3 years. I had planned to announce our relationship on our 3rd anniversary. The day before, I went with my best friend to her company to congratulate her on the successful completion of a new project. But instead, I saw the woman I loved locked in an embrace with her male executive assistant. My best friend exclaimed, "Wow, looks like my aunt's got some good news to share soon." My nails dug into my palm as I played along. Yeah, they look really good together. Chapter 1. When my best friend and I arrived at Isabel Valerius's presidential office, she was just getting up. Slipping off her high heels, she walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window, glanced down, and tapped something on her phone. My screen lit up instantly. I ducked out of my friend's view to see her message, "Just finished work." Seeing the dark circles under her eyes, my heart ached with sympathy. A newly appointed president facing a corporate financial crisis, the weight on her shoulders was immense. I was glad I hadn't disturbed her while she was busy. I was about to walk over when my best friend, Brian Valerius, yanked me behind a large potted money tree, signaling me to keep quiet. Her executive assistant, Ethan Goldsmith, knocked and entered, striding gracefully over to Isabel. Dressed in a sharp suit and leather shoes, he exuded an air of erudition and competence. He adjusted his tie, revealing long, elegant fingers. Brian raised an eyebrow. "Holy crap, Sincere. Am I seeing things? A drop-dead gorgeous guy like that. He couldn't actually be having a secret office romance with my aunt, could he? Of course not, I thought. The person with your aunt is me. Tomorrow would mark 3 full years since Isabel and I got together. Even though it was a secret relationship, I was convinced she loved me and that our bond was unbreakable. I had no doubt about it. But in the next second, Ethan leaned in and whispered something in Isabel's ear. She pretended to be angry and playfully punched his arm, but he just laughed heartily and wrapped his arm around her narrow waist. He pulled her completely into his embrace. An unexpected chill crept into my heart. But Brian, thrilled, grabbed me and charged straight into the office. "Aunt Isabel, I caught you red-handed. You owe me hush money." Isabel's gaze swept over us and her expression instantly turned cold. "Who gave you permission to barge in here without my approval?" Ethan quickly let her go, his cheeks flushing red, but Isabel's hand on his arm only tightened. "Why are you being so harsh?" Sincere said his mom made some calming soup and brought a portion over for you, Brian explained. Isabel's eyes landed on me, and I gave a slight nod. But this soup wasn't made by my mother. It was a labor of love I had simmered all night myself, after researching ancient recipes. I was worried Isabel would work herself to exhaustion, so I had specially sourced the finest herbs. She knew all of this, of course. Exchanging secret messages of affection in front of others was a little game Isabel and I both enjoyed. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Well, since President Valerius has her late-night snack covered, I guess I'll go enjoy that delicious spicy bullfrog all by myself. I absolutely love spicy food. I can't live without it." But Isabel had an irregular diet in her younger years and a weak stomach. After I learned that, I never set foot in a spicy restaurant again. "No need," Isabel said coolly. "Take it back with you," Brian pouted. And I was hoping to get a bite. "But seriously, you two hit it really well." Ethan glanced nervously at Isabel before speaking up. "It's not a big deal, really. It's only been 2 months. 2 months. I had been kept in the dark this whole time." Brian clicked his tongue in amazement. "My aunt is finally blooming, and she moves fast." Ethan shook his head, a handsome smile playing on his lips. "President Valerius is very devoted. After I left 3 years ago, she never dated anyone else. She still sent me good morning and good night texts every single day. 3 years ago, she had gotten drunk and with a flushed face shyly asked me, can we be together? For 3 years, I stayed up with her through all-night work sessions and sang her lullabies on sleepless nights. For 3 years, she took me all over the country. Under the brilliant fireworks at an amusement park, she told me I was her one and only prince. I gave her all my love, but all along, her heart belonged to someone else. Not long ago, on my birthday, I closed my eyes to make a wish. When I opened them, I saw her looking down, replying to a message. My wish was for a future with Isabel. Was she, at that very moment, hoping for a reunion with the man she loved? Lost in thought, Brian excitedly grabbed my hand. "Sincere, a real couple is the best ship." This is my favorite kind of drama, getting back together with an old flame. My ears were ringing. The world faded away, leaving only my voice, trying to sound calm but unable to hide its tremor. Yeah, they looked great together. A talented woman and a handsome man, a love between equals. They looked far more compatible than she and I ever did. They chatted animatedly, with Isabel occasionally chiming in. Stop pestering him with questions. He's shy. Don't tease him. He knows all of this. There are no secrets between us. Is my nephew bothering you? Do you want to go rest for a bit? I didn't hear a word they said until Brian finally pulled me away. Behind us, I heard Ethan's voice. I told you not to make our relationship public outside the office. If I didn't get a little pushy, who knows how long you would have made me wait. So, it turned out she wasn't against public relationships. She just didn't love me. Chapter 2. The next day was Thanksgiving. Today was the day Isabel and I were supposed to announce our relationship to everyone. After we got together, she was the one who insisted we couldn't let her family know. Our situation is a bit unique. If my sister finds out I tricked a boy almost the same age as her son into being my husband, she would never agree. I believed her, so I willingly waited for myself to grow up before we went public to the people we both knew. 2 weeks ago, I had hugged her and pleaded playfully. My job is stable now, and you're the president. Let's go public on our 3rd anniversary, okay? She agreed without a second thought. And then, the projects at her company suddenly piled up. Forget meeting for dinner, she only just replied today to a message I sent the day before yesterday. I didn't sleep a wink all night. The next morning, with dark circles under my eyes, I stared at the surprise gift I had prepared for her in my closet. A collection of different, cute little tales she liked. I had wanted to offer myself to her as a gift. But now, it seemed there was no longer any need. I slammed the closet door shut. My phone rang loudly. It was Isabel. As soon as I answered, she asked directly, "The Valerius family dinner is tonight. Are you coming?" I clenched the phone, let out a soft chuckle, and asked back, "Do you want me to come?" Isabel was silent on the other end for a moment, then sighed. "Sincere, it is a family gathering after all. Since you're Brian's friend, you're practically a junior member of the family. Why don't you come and join us? 3 years of devotion, only to be dismissed as a junior." I wasn't an idiot. She just wanted to use the gathering as an excuse to lay her cards on the table. Between us, we could only ever be an elder and a junior. Or perhaps we had never even crossed that line. I suddenly understood. Her reasons for never making our relationship public ran deep. A love that no one knows about is so easy to walk away from, just like now, where not even a formal breakup was necessary. Pathetic. How utterly pathetic. A smile touched my lips. "Of course, I'll definitely be there." "I'm bringing Ethan with me," Isabel said, sounding displeased. "Don't worry, I won't get in your way." As if shrugging off a huge burden, Isabel quickly hung up. I didn't understand. How could she go from being so affectionate yesterday to avoiding me like the plague today? I put on my sharpest suit and left the house. The Valerius family dinner was held at the most exclusive hotel in the city, with many business tycoons in attendance. I didn't know a single one of them. Isabel had once told me I didn't need to. But towards Ethan, they were all deferential, calling him the president's right-hand man, terrified of showing the slightest disrespect. The Valerius elders were all remarking on how Isabel, after all this time, had finally ended up back with Ethan. It turned out they had been the golden couple in high school. But back then, Isabel had no status in the family, and Ethan, believing they had no future, left town. It wasn't until Ethan returned and became Isabel's right-hand man that their old flame was rekindled at work. Amidst the chorus of praise, Ethan raised his glass to toast everyone. Isabel walked straight up to him, linked arms, and they both drank their glasses dry. The cheers from the crowd nearly blew the roof off. I just watched silently. In a crowd like this, no one would notice me. I suddenly felt like I had come here just to be humiliated. Isabel knew my personality: obedient, considerate, always thinking of others. She knew I would never make a scene and embarrass her in a situation like this. And of course, I wouldn't. Even if I rushed onto the stage and told everyone I'd had a 3-year secret relationship with Isabel, I would be the only one losing face. But since I was here, it would be a waste not to drink my fill of the fine liquor at the banquet. In the end, Brian had to support a very drunk me to the entrance, telling me to stay put while he went to get the car. The moment he left, I staggered off in the opposite direction. It was Thanksgiving night. and couples on the street were wrapped in each other's arms, whispering sweet nothings. I just wanted to find a corner, have a good cry, and then sleep until I forgot everything. Suddenly, the aroma of grilled meat wafted over. Under the dim yellow lights, a grill house was buzzing with people. This place was famous for its spicy food. I hadn't been here in 3 whole years. As if possessed, I walked inside. Chapter 3. I shuffled slowly to the front desk, hoping to find a seat. "Sorry, sir, it's Thanksgiving. We don't have any tables for one left. Maybe you could come back another day?" I looked back and saw that every table in the restaurant was occupied by pairs of people. I, alone, stuck out like a sore thumb. My stomach let out an inopportune growl. I had barely eaten since yesterday and was starving. The woman I was about to marry was now with someone else, and I couldn't even find a place to eat. It was like rubbing salt in the wound. Just then, a waiter led in a tall, beautiful woman in a long dress. She was also alone, but had made a reservation. She was just about to start eating. Normally, I would have given up and left to find another place. But today, fueled by alcohol, I found a strange surge of courage and walked up to her table. "Hello," the woman didn't stop the motion of picking up a piece of meat. "Not interested, not giving you my number, and not following you on social media." I realized she had misunderstood and quickly bowed my head, speaking sincerely. "Hi, I was wondering if I could share your table? Everywhere nearby is full, and this is my last chance. I know it's presumptuous, so I'll pay for the meal. Would that be okay?" The woman looked up and sized me up with a suspicious gaze. That's when I got a clear look at her face. She was stunningly beautiful. It was hard to imagine how such radiant vivacity and reserved composure could coexist on one face. Her appearance and temperament were both top tier. She gave a slight nod. Overjoyed, I prepared to sit down, but I clumsily knocked over a plate of sliced beef which landed squarely on her high heels. I hurriedly bent down to pick it up, just as she was looking up. Our foreheads collided with a loud thud. Ouch, tears welled up in my eyes, but I still instinctively reached out to rub her head. She gently pushed my hand away. "You're paying for this meal. The cleaning fee for the shoes will be separate." I nodded like a bobblehead. No problem at all. Once I was finally seated, I wrapped a few pieces of grilled beef in a perilla leaf and stuffed the whole thing into my mouth. The bliss was so overwhelming I almost cried. Damn you, Isabel, that goddamn liar. She had stolen 3 years of my youth and my heart. I used to read those trashy 30-second romance snippets in novels. I never thought something like that would happen to me one day. I picked up another piece of meat, dipped it in sauce and swallowed, only to find it tasted bitterly salty. I realized that, without my knowing, tears were streaming down my face. The beautiful woman silently pushed the tissue box toward me. I pulled out tissues, mumbling my thanks while crying and continuing to stuff my face with meat. After I had eaten and drunk my fill, the alcohol completely took over. I held up a piece of meat and tried several times to put it in my dipping bowl, failing each time. When I looked up at the beautiful woman, she had split into several versions of herself, all swaying in front of me. My phone rang. I stared at the dozen or so flashing red and green buttons on the screen, unsure which one to press. A long, slender hand reached over from across the table, swiped the screen, and answered the call. "Sincere, where the hell did you run off to, you brat?" I called out weakly. "Brian. Give me your location." I was confused. He, Brian? Brian was about to lose his mind. He? What he? "Where are you?" The beautiful woman sighed and gave him the address. "At the Star Grill House." Brian burst in and grabbed my ear, looking utterly disappointed. Isabel came too, but she just stood to the side with her arms crossed, her expression cold. Ethan's gaze, however, kept drifting over to the beautiful woman. Chapter 4. The next day, Brian asked me, "How are you having dinner with Victoria Sterling yesterday?" Victoria Sterling? Who was that? I asked him. "You know that beautiful woman from yesterday? Are you kidding me? Who in all of a city doesn't know the Sterling heiress? The bottled water you're drinking right now is from her family's company." Then he added mysteriously, "I heard that Ethan's first love in high school was actually Miss Sterling." I remembered now. I had seen that name before on a financial report at the company. Victoria Sterling's project report took up a full page, leaving only a tiny, insignificant corner for Isabel. What was Isabel's assessment of her back then? Just a spoiled rich kid who relied on her family and would never amount to anything. I believed her then. I believed every word she said. But now, a huge question mark hung over everything Isabel had told me. There was an innate elegance and good breeding about Victoria Sterling that couldn't be faked. Speaking of which, I suddenly remembered I had promised to treat her to dinner. and I ended up dining and dashing. I made myself a glass of honey water to sober up, and my phone rang. It was Isabel. "You were so drunk yesterday, are you okay? I've already called you in sick at the office today." Her tone was familiar and natural, as considerate as she had always been. I couldn't help but remember how strict Isabel used to be about my drinking. "You're only allowed to get drunk when I'm with you." Unfortunately, all those promises were void to me now. That privilege belonged only to Isabel's official boyfriend. I laughed sarcastically. President Valerius, for someone so busy to take the time to care about an ex-boyfriend. I'm truly flattered. Isabel was taken aback, silent for a moment before saying, "It's just concern from an elder. I don't want to see you spiraling like this." The Isabel in my memory knew all my hobbies, would buy me the latest action figures and never call me childish, would drop everything to be with me when I was sick, and would take me to a new city every 6 months, snapping countless photos. In those 3 years, I thought our love was deep enough. The role of the perfect girlfriend she played was so flawless that I couldn't accept this broken version of her now, but she had repeatedly stressed that we were just an elder and a junior. If I continued to pester her, I would lose respect for myself. I replied with a smile, "No need. You no longer have the right to care about me." Chapter 5. Hang up, delete, block, all in one smooth motion. My cloud storage held nearly 10 gigabytes of photos, documenting the sweet moments of my 3 years with Isabel. But no matter how precious the memories, once love is gone, they become a form of torture. I steeled myself and hit the empty button. A person of Victoria Sterling's status would probably dislike being bothered by strangers privately. I went to the Sterling Corporation building, just to try my luck. As I stood there, unsure of what to do, a voice suddenly came from behind me. "Looking for me?" I spun around and saw it was Victoria Sterling herself. I was too drunk yesterday to remember much besides her beauty. Now, standing here in the flesh under the setting sun, the light gilded her silhouette. She was so beautiful it left me speechless again. I nodded quickly and took out my phone. Yes, about yesterday's dinner, and the shoes. How much was it in total? I can transfer it to you. I don't remember. The transaction history, that's my backup phone. No history. Seeing her completely unfazed look, I was at a loss for words. "What should I do then?" She shrugged nonchalantly. "Do you know any places better than the Star Grill House? Just treat me a few more times." With that, she started walking, and I hurried to catch up. When it came to food, I considered myself quite knowledgeable. I turned to her and asked, "What kind of flavors do you like? I'm not picky." I thought for a moment. "We had something heavy yesterday. How about something lighter today? I know a clay pot soup place with the most amazing flavor. You're the expert." The clay pot soup restaurant was near the university, a place Isabel and I used to go to often. To my surprise, not long after we sat down, Isabel and Ethan walked in. She looked a bit unnatural when she saw me, but quickly regained her composure. Ethan, however, lacked his usual calm. His expression was a little strange. He actually greeted me. "Sincere, what a coincidence. You're here too. Why don't we share a table?" This was the first time Ethan and I had a proper conversation. I had never even heard Isabel mention the handsome assistant's name before. But while he was speaking to me, his eyes kept darting towards Victoria, as if he already assumed she was in charge of our table. Victoria, however, looked at me and asked, "Sincere, what do you think?" What did I think? I glanced at Isabel's nervous expression, thought about the gossip Brian had told me, and immediately understood. I pulled out the chair next to Victoria. "Come on, sit down, sit down. Let the show begin." Chapter 6. This restaurant's soups were delicious, and their spicy dishes were exceptional, perfect with rice. Ethan asked, "How about the Szechuan boiled beef? The extra spicy version should really hit the spot." Isabel reached out and affectionately ruffled his hair. "As long as you like it." With Isabel's fragile stomach, eating something that spicy would leave her in pain for a week. The thought crossed my mind, and I immediately shut it down. I loved spicy food, yet for Isabel, I had eaten bland food for 3 years. Now for Ethan, she was willing to try extra spicy Szechuan beef. The difference between being loved and not loved was really that stark. I was staring blankly, chewing on my chopsticks, when Victoria pushed the menu in front of me. She pointed to the dishes she had already checked off. "Want to add anything else?" I looked at her. "The bullfrog here is amazing. It's always fresh. I highly recommend it." Victoria drew a check mark on the menu. "All right, we'll add it." But if it's not good, this meal doesn't count. How dare she question my taste as a food connoisseur? I know, you big heiress. Victoria glanced at me and smiled. Still not convinced? I wonder who it was yesterday that swore beef grilled for 5 minutes was the best, only to burn it all. I glared at her. That was because I was drunk. Does that even count? Just then, Ethan interjected. I saw Sincere and CEO Sterling having dinner together yesterday. Are you two old friends? His question made me realize that perhaps our personalities just clicked. This was only our second time meeting, but getting along with Victoria felt as natural as it did with my oldest friends. This easy rapport, where we could casually tease each other, was just like how I was with my best buddy. Isabel, who had been silent, suddenly spoke up. They didn't know each other before. They're not old friends. They're not even friends at all. Although she was speaking the truth, her words left a sour taste in my mouth. Victoria had been quietly sipping her tea. Hearing that, she let out a soft laugh. As she set her cup down, she remarked casually, "Good tea." The atmosphere instantly dropped to freezing. Ethan's excellent professional instincts couldn't stand the awkward silence. Speaking of which, apart from Sincere, the three of us actually have a bit of history from high school. We weren't close. No connection. Now even Ethan's face was starting to look strained. To Isabel, Victoria's bluntness was a blatant provocation. I looked at our strange foursome. Across from me was a couple. On my left was Isabel, dining with her current boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, and her ex-boyfriend's potential new flame. On my right was Ethan, dining with his current girlfriend and his old flame, the one that got away. All right, I was staying out of this mess. I decided to say nothing and just focus on eating. At one point, Ethan went to the restroom, and Isabel followed him. I glanced their way, then turned to meet Victoria's amused, watched the drama unfold expression. I scowled. What? Victoria teased. What's this? An ex-girlfriend? I knew it. A woman as sharp as Victoria would have figured it out. But I was so used to hiding my relationship with Isabel that I denied it out of habit. What ex-girlfriend? Don't be ridiculous, we're not close. Oh, not close, huh? I thought she would leave it at that. But then her cool voice, laced with a hint of temptation, sounded in my ear again. What if I told you I'm 80% sure I could get that ex-girlfriend of yours to come back to you? Chapter 7. Come back to me? I didn't need Isabel to come back to me. You've already seen it. Isabel is jealous of me, and Ethan wants to please me. All I have to do is say a few words to stir things up, and they'll break up immediately. Your precious Isabel will naturally come back to you. Enough, stop talking. I cut her off abruptly, my tone harsher than I intended. Even though Isabel had broken up with me in an almost heartless way, the good things she did for me during our relationship were real. Right now, my heart was a tangled mess of love and hate, and I couldn't break free. But to team up with an outsider to scheme against them, I couldn't do it. In the end, even if Isabel was a terrible person, she once had a beautiful place in my heart. Coming back to my senses, I immediately apologized. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have yelled at you. But let's just let the past be the past. There's no need to dwell on it. Victoria's expression hardened. But have you really let go? I looked at her, confused. She said word for word, in the hour you've been treating me to dinner, you've looked at Isabel 30 times, but she hasn't looked at you once. It's obvious that the only one in this relationship who can't let go is you. There are 3.5 billion single women in the world. Why are you so hung up on one who cheated on you? Victoria's words were like a switch flipping in my brain, and everything became crystal clear. She was right. What did I have to be sad about? If I gave my heart to the wrong person, I'd just have to chalk it up to a bad investment and move on. My life was still my own. I eagerly picked up the largest piece of bullfrog meat and placed it in Victoria's bowl. Thank you. This one's the juiciest, it's for you. You. Victoria was about to say something else, but the other two returned just then. Ethan picked up his bag, said a quick goodbye, and left. Isabel looked at me, holding her phone. Add my number back, we're splitting the bill for this meal. I froze for a second. I waved my hand. No need. I'll have Brian send you the bill. Isabel didn't expect me to refuse. She stared blankly for a moment, then nodded silently and left as well. I had no idea what kind of game they were playing, but it would be a waste to leave all this food. I devoured the rest of the dishes like a whirlwind. I ate until even Victoria had put down her chopsticks and was just watching me. What? Forget 4 meals, make it 8. Why, I just feel like I'm getting a bad deal. Fine. My appetite was so large even a capitalist felt shortchanged, and just like that Victoria and I became nightly dinner buddies by tacit agreement. When I worked late, she would even drive to my office building and wait for me. I'd slide into her car like I'd done it 100 times, buckle up, and naturally take her phone to type in our destination for the night. Victoria would start the car without a word. We had known each other for only a month, but we had already become the most familiar of dinner companions. Sometimes, when the mood struck, I would buy groceries and we'd have hot pot at my place. It saved money, and she seemed to enjoy it immensely. Victoria really wasn't a picky eater. Whatever I took her to eat, she adapted perfectly. Even Brian thought something was up. "You and Miss Sterling, you're not secretly dating behind my back, are you?" I quickly explained, "We're just dinner buddies. I still haven't finished repaying the favor I owe her from the Star Grill house." Brian reluctantly accepted the explanation. "Man, that's Miss Sterling we're talking about. I mean, you two look good together, but I never in my wildest dreams thought that the model child all the adults used to talk about would end up with a big dummy like you." I threw a pillow at him. "Who's a dummy?" Brian just grinned. "But seriously, my aunt seems to be in a really bad state lately. I heard Ethan is thinking about resigning. I don't know what's going on with them now." Chapter 8. I fell into deep thought. I hadn't seen either of them since our unpleasant dinner at the soup restaurant. They probably had a fight and didn't make up. In the past, whenever we had a conflict, she almost never backed down. But Ethan was different. He was her childhood sweetheart, her publicly acknowledged partner. I figured President Valerius would be willing to swallow her pride to win him back. Lately, though, I'd been receiving anonymous breakfasts and flowers at work. Different every day, but always the things Isabel and I used to love. I couldn't help but suspect Isabel was trying to win me back, so I gave all the food and flowers to my colleagues. That weekend, Victoria said she wanted to take me to a country-style farm she frequented. I hadn't had authentic farmhouse cooking in ages, so I eagerly agreed. But when I went downstairs and saw the woman leaning against a cool motorcycle, holding a helmet, I was stunned. This was way too wild. "Victoria, you better drive safely and obey all the traffic laws, you hear me? My life is in your hands. I'm throwing you off right now." I yelped and threw my arms around her waist. No, don't get distracted, watch the road." I have to admit, I managed to get a little feel. Her waist seemed really slim. It wasn't until we stopped at the farmhouse gate and she took off her helmet that I noticed something. "Miss Sterling, why is your face so red? Was the helmet too stuffy?" "Shut up, Victoria, and I spent the whole day at the farm having a blast chasing chickens, picking melons, and teasing dogs." It was dark by the time she drove me home. I was about to get off the bike when she called out to me. "Sincere, you've treated me to more than enough meals." She said that, but actually we had split the bill for several of the more expensive meals. Miss Sterling might not be short on cash, but I was. Was she trying to settle the score? Why at this time of night? I stared at her, my round eyes blinking. Victoria's eyes, under her dark, choppy bangs, seemed to shrink a little, and the tips of her ears turned red again. I understood instantly. "I get it, you've been eating too much rich food lately, and your stomach's a little upset, right?" Victoria's face immediately darkened. Sincere, I looked in the direction of the voice and saw Isabel standing at the entrance of my building, her face grim. I hadn't seen her in almost a month. Seeing her again, the sharp pain in my heart had faded considerably. Isabel called out to me, "Sincere, come here. I need to talk to you alone." I hesitated for a moment, then started walking towards her. But Victoria grabbed me from behind and I stumbled backward unexpectedly. She gave my waist a pinch, as if scolding a hopeless case. "You dare go back to your ex behind my back?" "Hold on, lady, we're just dinner buddies. Going back to an ex isn't something we do together. Besides, I had no intention of doing that." I took her wrist to reassure her. "No, of course not." Victoria's fingers brushed against my forehead, gently tucking a stray strand of hair, tousled by the wind, behind my ear. "Good. Your hair was a mess." I stared at her blankly. I knew Victoria's face was a lethal weapon. I felt like my brain had short-circuited. Oh, right. Well, I'm heading up then." Before she could answer, I bolted. Isabel grabbed my wrist, her voice sharp. "What is your relationship with her?" Chapter 9. My brow furrowed instantly. "What does that have to do with you? Didn't you have something to say? If you have something to say, then say it." But Isabel wouldn't let it go. "Have you moved on that quickly? What could Victoria Sterling possibly see in you?" I took a deep breath and looked directly into Isabel's eyes. Aunt Isabel, on what grounds are you questioning me right now? As an elder, do you think you have the right to interfere in your junior's private life? If you're really that bored, you might as well go find some manure to shovel. It would be a better use of your time than going crazy on me here. Isabel buried her head in my shoulder, her body trembling slightly. Sincere, don't say such hurtful things in the past. If she had shown such vulnerability, I would have dropped everything to comfort her. But now I just found her ridiculous. I forcefully pushed her away. Save your sweet talk and your affectionate gestures for your fiancé. When the 3-year illusion of happiness was completely shattered, she should have known that this messy ending was inevitable. I was like a puppet, blindfolded and deaf, played with at her whim for so many years without ever realizing it. I was even willing to offer up everything I had just to make her smile. Now that I wanted to leave, she was the one grilling me. Isabel, you should know better. I turned to leave, but she held onto my wrist tightly. You can't be with Victoria Sterling. She can't give you happiness, I scoffed. What gives you the right to define my happiness? Is it because you strung me along for 3 years, only to announce to the world that you were getting back with your old flame the day before I thought we were going public on Thanksgiving? Isabel, you're such a phony. Isabel's hand finally let go. I sighed and stepped into the elevator. Sincere, is there really no chance for us? The only answer she got was the slow closing of the elevator doors. Victoria's birthday was approaching. Someone had probably already arranged for a large cake, so I decided to bake some small cupcakes myself to bring along. They were all flavors she usually enjoyed. At the birthday banquet, I was chatting with Brian. Victoria approached me. Sincere, want to sit next to me during dinner? I was taken aback. No, I can't do that. The Sterling family had many relatives, and the guests were all rich and powerful. I was in no position to sit next to Victoria. She didn't insist, just nodded and went to mingle with other guests. Brian immediately sidled up to me. Wait, are you two actually together? My aunt has been asking me about you a lot lately. From the way she acts, she's probably fallen for you too. I was nibbling on a cupcake and mumbled, I'm not interested in women right now. I saw Brian's expression suddenly change. I turned around and saw Isabel standing behind me. Sincere, I've broken up with Ethan. From now on, I will be completely devoted to you. We'll get married and have a happy family. Will you give me another chance? Isabel looked even more worn out than the last time I saw her. If she had said these words in the past, I would have been ecstatic. Now they just sounded like a joke. I smiled. Sorry, Aunt Isabel, but I don't have a fetish for dating my elders. Isabel's eyes were red-rimmed. She grabbed my wrist and started to drag me away. Sincere, you're not listening to me. Why are you saying these things just to upset me? She was acting like she had lost her mind. Her grip was surprisingly strong, and my wrist was starting to hurt from her squeezing. Just as I was about to call for help, my body was pulled back against something soft. A familiar voice sounded from above my head. You lay one finger on my husband and see what happens. Chapter 10. My own defenses were about to crumble. Isabel's crumbled even more completely. She asked me in disbelief, Sincere, tell me she's lying. Seeing her about to approach again, I quickly turned, wrapped my arms around Victoria's neck, and pressed myself tightly against her. No, everything she said is true. Since you don't want to marry me, there are plenty of others who do. Victoria's triumphant voice rang out. Did you hear that? Satisfied? If I recall correctly, President Valerius was not invited to my birthday party. Security, show our guest out. Isabel looked completely defeated. Even her back radiated despair as she walked away. I quickly let go of Victoria and bent down to smooth out the wrinkles I had made in her evening gown. She said, exasperated, Sincere, she was trying to drag you away. Couldn't you have called for help? How come you turn into an idiot whenever you're around Isabel Valerius? I wasn't that much of an idiot. If she hadn't shown up, I definitely would have called security. Seeing me silent, she sighed, took my hand and led me into a lounge. She took out a first aid kit, knelt down and started applying medicine to my wrist. You whine and scream like a baby when you're on the back of my motorcycle if I go a little too fast, but when someone grabs you like this, you don't make a sound. Sincere, people have mouths for a reason. You're supposed to use them to ask for help. My lip quivered. That's just how I am. If someone treats me badly, I can just laugh it off. But the moment someone is kind to me, I can't help but feel a wave of sadness. Wah, Vicky darling, it hurts. I didn't know if it was my wrist that hurt or my heart. Victoria hadn't expected me to burst into tears. She fumbled, pulling out a handful of tissues. She clumsily wiped my tears away. Once I had calmed down, I asked, feeling a little awkward. "What you said earlier about husband, that was a joke, right? You should probably clear that up so I don't get the wrong idea." Victoria met my gaze. I never joke. She looked down and intertwined her fingers with mine. "I'm asking you, are you interested in trying a relationship with the goal of marriage?" I must have been out of my mind, but either way, she led me to the main table just like that. The Sterling elders were surprisingly warm and friendly. Throughout the meal, I felt like I had never been treated so gently by so many people. I seriously suspected Victoria had planned this all along. "Why did your grandmother say she was so happy to finally meet me in person? What have you been telling them?" Victoria said nonchalantly. "They asked me if there was anyone I liked recently, so I gave them your name." I grabbed her hand firmly. "Tell me the truth, you've had your eyes on me for a while, haven't you?" She smiled and laced her fingers through mine. Yes, I've wanted you for a long time." A week later, Victoria was driving a slightly tipsy me home. We found a drunk person passed out by my front door. "Isabel, wake up. I'll call Brian to come get you." In her daze, Isabel saw me and struggled to get up and hug me. Victoria swiftly kicked her away. "Keep your hands to yourself." But Isabel was persistent. "Sincere, I really know I was wrong. I even brought my legal documents. Let's go get married right now." I turned around, leaned down, and pressed my lips against Victoria's. "Sincere," I let out a cold laugh. "Save it. You're not as good as her anyway." Brian arrived quickly and was completely stunned by the scene. I swept Victoria up into my arms, opened the door, and walked inside. "Sorry, buddy. I'll explain another time. You see the situation." Actually, let's just not explain. After the door slammed shut with a bang, I belatedly realized what I had just done. "Wait, Victoria, I was drunk just now. I was just talking nonsense, I don't care. My husband just complimented me in public. I have to live up to it, don't I?" The night before our wedding, my fiancée, Rosalind Jennings, cheated on me with a suggestive short video streamer. The man uploaded explicit videos of them online, complete with close-ups of the distinctive rose tattoo on Rosalind's collarbone. Overnight, news that I'd been cheated on spread throughout the entire city. The next day, Rosalind actually showed up at the wedding venue, arm in arm with that streamer, mocking me relentlessly. "Sincere Clark, besides being born lucky, what part of you can possibly compare to Kian? It's not that I look down on you, but only Kian can give me the ultimate pleasure a woman desires. So, I'm marrying him." Without much argument, I agreed to call off the wedding on the spot. I even countered by gifting them 10 million, wishing them a long and happy life together. From that day forward, the Jennings family, once riding high, began a steep decline. In less than 3 months, they were bankrupt and drowning in debt. By the time Rosalind was tearfully begging the world for my forgiveness, I already had my arm around my new wife's waist, honeymooning around the globe. "Sincere Clark, if you have any shred of manhood left, stop clinging to me. Call off the wedding cleanly. With your family's fortune, surely you can find another woman?" In the banquet hall filled with most of the nation's elite, Rosalind openly clung to another man's arm, raising her voice to shout at me. The man beside her was none other than Kian Barnes, the suggestive streamer currently trending on short video platforms. Kian was scrawny with bleached blonde hair, ears full of piercings, and layers of skull necklaces draped around his neck. He looked utterly out of place among the formally dressed crowd. Yet he seemed completely at ease, casually holding up his phone, live streaming the entire time. "Yo, bros. Your boy made it big time today, checking out a place this high class. Look at these pillars. Practically gold-plated this abalone, this Australian lobster. And hey, 87 Lafitte and Romani Conti, alright guys. For every rocket you send, I'll chug a bottle later, get those gifts flowing." As he spoke, he panned his phone around, shamelessly filming the surrounding guests. I gave a slight nod to the side. A dozen bodyguards emerged from the shadows, silently surrounding Kian and Rosalind. Seeing this, Rosalind immediately shielded Kian protectively, snapping at me. "Sincere Clark, what do you think you're doing?" "I'm right here. Are you planning to resort to violence? Is this the magnanimity of the Clark heir? Just clinging on pathetically. You truly disgust me." Looking at her young, pretty face, I felt no anger, only pity. A rose coddled in a greenhouse doesn't realize it attracts not just gentle breezes and butterflies, but also opportunists waiting to cash in. While Rosalind frantically shielded him, Kian, behind her, secretly aimed his phone at a nearby hostess, trying to capture an upskirt shot. I didn't feel like I'd lost to someone like him. It merely highlighted Rosalind's utter lack of judgment when it came to men. Even Jasper Chapman, my buddy since childhood, couldn't stand it anymore. "Miss Jennings, have you lost your memory? Wasn't it your Jennings Motors that was desperate to expand into the new energy sector, rushing to latch onto the Clark family's coattails? Didn't you diligently bring sincere love lunches, rain or shine, sucking up to him for 3 whole years before finally securing this marriage alliance? Why do you make it sound like you were forced?" Rosalind scoffed, completely unfazed. "I didn't understand what it meant to love someone back then, so I yielded to the family arrangement. But now I know Kian is my soulmate. I'll marry him and no one else this lifetime." As she spoke, seemingly to provoke me further, she stood on her tiptoes, wrapped her arms around Kian's neck and gave him a deep, passionate kiss right there in public. Kian, chasing clout and loving the drama, shot me a defiant look, still holding his selfie stick for the live feed. The two kissed intensely, sparks practically flying. If the surroundings hadn't somewhat restricted them, they likely would have done something even more outrageous. "Rosalind Jennings, have you lost your mind? Get away from this scumbag right now." An angry shout came from the entrance. Rosalind's father, Marcus Jennings, arrived with a group of relatives. He had just entered when he witnessed the scene, clearly infuriated. He strode forward, yanked Rosalind away, and landed a heavy punch on Kian, knocking him to the ground. Kian, bleeding from the corner of his mouth, still didn't forget his selfie stick. He aimed it at the screen. "Hit the jackpot. Folks got hit by the CEO of Jennings Corp. Let's just lie here and see if we get a new car or a villa out of this." Marcus Jennings trembled with rage, yelling at Rosalind. "You turned yourself into this disgrace for this thing? And you dare offend the Clark family? How could I have raised such a brainless daughter?" Rosalind showed no shame. "That's just Kian's persona for the stream. He's not really like that. He's actually very low-key and deep, and he treats me incredibly well. Unlike Sincere Clark, I chased him for 3 years, and he was always cold and indifferent, providing 0 emotional value. Marrying a man like that would ruin my life." Before Rosalind could finish, Marcus slapped her hard across the face. "You idiot. Do you have any idea how many daughters of wealthy families citywide are lining up to please Mr. Clark? Over 70% of the Jennings family's investments these past few years were secured through the Clarks. If you call off this marriage, not only will your life be ruined, but the entire Jennings Corporation will go down with you." Veins pulsed on Marcus's forehead. He looked ready to kill her. Rosalind was stunned by the slap. She'd been spoiled rotten since childhood. Her family had rarely even spoken harshly to her, let alone hit her in public. Humiliated, her eyes reddened. Seemingly blaming me for everything, she glared at me with even more resentment, muttering curses under her breath. "What's so great about Sincere Clark? Wasn't he just born lucky? Kian built himself up from nothing, becoming a viral blogger with tens of millions of followers in just 2 or 3 years, with him helping us live stream and sell products. Why would we worry about selling our cars?" Such childishly laughable remarks instantly drew roars of laughter from the crowd. Built himself up from nothing? This guy's got skeletons galore. Used to be a male model at some club. Got famous only because some sugar daddies bankrolled him. Rumor is he doesn't discriminate between men or women if the price is right. When that video leaked last night, I thought someone was trying to sabotage the Clark-Jennings marriage with a malicious AI deepfake. Didn't expect it to be real. Looks like the Jennings family's ancestral luck has run out. Marcus Jennings has terrible luck too. Hustled his whole life, only to have everything ruined by this destructive daughter in his old age. Hearing the surrounding mockery, Marcus grew even more furious. He raised his cane high. "Rather than let you disgrace us further, I'll beat you to death right here today as an apology to the Clark family." Before the cane could fall, I signaled the bodyguards, who intercepted Marcus. "Mr. Jennings, why the anger? It doesn't have to come to this." A calm, detached smile played on my lips as if none of this concerned me. Confusion flickered across Marcus's face, quickly replaced by ecstatic joy. "Mr. Clark, does this mean you're willing to forgive my daughter? That's wonderful. I'll discipline her properly. I guarantee she won't cause any more trouble." I glanced up at him. "Forgive? Did I ever say I blamed your daughter?" Marcus was overjoyed upon hearing this. He looked at me excitedly. "Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Clark. You are truly magnanimous. No wonder you're the esteemed Mr. Clark." Marcus fawned over me, but I simply regarded him coolly. "There's no need to thank me. However, the reception is about to begin. Would you please escort your daughter and future son-in-law out, Mr. Jennings?" I even made a polite please gesture. The smile instantly froze on Marcus's face. "Mr. Clark, what do you mean? Today is the wedding banquet. If Rosalind isn't here, how can you get married today?" He looked at me awkwardly. "Also, that kid will never be our family's son-in-law. We only acknowledge you." Marcus's tone grew agitated. Hearing this, I gave a disdainful smile. As if I needed his acknowledgement, I stood up, looking down at Marcus from my slightly elevated position. "Mr. Jennings, you seem to have misunderstood this event today. If I say it's a wedding banquet, it's a wedding banquet. If I say it's a cocktail party, it can only be a cocktail party." My gaze turned icy. Did she think a mere Rosalind Jennings could humiliate me? Did she even qualify? Here, everything is decided by me. I don't blame her because she isn't worthy of my blame. I'm asking you to leave because Rosalind herself explicitly requested to cancel the engagement. I looked at Marcus with a cold sneer. "Or are you suggesting, Mr. Jennings, that I should beg your daughter to marry me?" As I finished speaking, beads of sweat instantly appeared on Marcus's forehead. He stammered for a long moment before finally remembering to shake his head in denial. "Not at all. You are Mr. Clark. It is my daughter's honor to be with you. But our two families have come this far. If we don't get married, it will be very difficult to smooth things over." Marcus was still trying to persuade me. I genuinely laughed at his words. Then I looked around at the guests. "Excuse me, everyone. If I don't get married today, will things be difficult to smooth over?" The crowd immediately shook their heads. "Difficult for Mr. Clark? Is Mr. Clark the one who did something wrong? Marcus Jennings, have you gone senile? Do you really think your daughter is some priceless treasure? If there's no wedding, the only ones facing difficulties will be you. It's your daughter's ignorant arrogance that personally destroyed your family's future." Everyone present was mocking Marcus Jennings. Marcus looked utterly embarrassed. He turned his head and glared even more furiously at Rosalind. "If you don't apologize to Mr. Clark right now, don't even think about returning to the Jennings family." His face was red with anger, his voice hoarse. Rosalind, however, gritted her teeth and defiantly linked arms with Kian Barnes. "You can't control me like you used to. The only person I love is Kian." Her words seemed to finally push Marcus over the edge, causing him to almost cough up blood. You wicked child." Marcus was heartbroken. "How did I end up with such a foolish daughter?" His body went limp. If someone hadn't caught him, he might have collapsed to his knees. Rosalind's expression flickered, but ultimately she hardened her heart and didn't spare her father another glance. "Sincere Clark, if you're a man, stop making things difficult for my dad." She tilted her head up, looking at me angrily. I glanced at her. Trying to deflect blame onto me is pointless. I already agreed to your request to break the engagement. It was your own foolish actions that angered your father to the point of spitting blood. Besides, if I actually wanted to make things difficult for you, none of you would be leaving here today. I let out a cold laugh. Though I didn't know when she'd become so stupid, I knew exactly how to handle her irrational behavior. Rosalind was silenced by my rebuttal. Meanwhile, the streamer Kian Barnes was still enthusiastically live streaming. "Thanks to Just Eat Cilantro for the 999 rockets, let's go. bros, as Kian shouted boisterously. He grabbed a bottle of Romani Conti from a nearby table, put it to his lips, tilted it back, and chugged the entire bottle of top-tier red wine. Rosalind, for some bizarre reason, looked at me with a smug expression. "See that? That's vitality. Being with him makes me feel alive." She happily leaned into the camera to greet the viewers. I frowned and waved a hand. A waiter approached Kian. "What do you think you're doing? Do you always have to be so extreme?" "I love Kian, and I'm not wrong if you dare touch him in front of over 10,000 viewers." "Be prepared to lose all your savings," Rosalind yelled at me, completely disregarding her image. Watching her almost resemble a petty gangster, I increasingly felt like Kian had inadvertently saved me from disaster. However, the waiter merely presented Kian with a bill. "This bottle of wine is 50,000. Will that be cash or charge?" The waiter looked at Kian impatiently. Kian blinked, then shamelessly asked, "I'm here doing a review. I have over 10 million followers. Drinking your wine is free promotion for you. How can you ask me for money?" "Exactly, don't you understand how things work? This is the internet age. Even if you're an international 6-star hotel, without my Kian promoting you, do you know how much business you'd lose?" Rosalind chimed in frantically. "The people present were business elites from all over the country. After all, anyone invited to my wedding banquet likely had a net worth in the billions." Hearing Rosalind's clownish statements, they could only look at Marcus Jennings with increasing pity. As for Marcus, he had completely fainted again, spared from hearing his daughter's foolish opinions. "With all due respect, Miss Jennings, I'm afraid Kian's followers are not exactly our hotel's target demographic," the hotel's duty manager, who had been waiting nearby, interjected smoothly. "Furthermore, we consider having him review our establishment to be a disgrace to our hotel." The manager had been prepared for such incidents. Are you asking for trouble?" Kian, being a popular streamer, was used to getting free meals and perks using his clout, and few dared to cross him. Being humiliated today in front of his live audience was unacceptable. The manager, naturally, wouldn't waste time arguing. He stated clearly that if the bill wasn't paid, they would call the police. "Fine, just wait for my fans to flood your comments section." Kian, furious and embarrassed, finally yelled at Rosalind, "What are you waiting for? Aren't you going to pay? Do you expect me to pay myself?" But Rosalind obediently trotted off to make the transfer without a single word of complaint. I shook my head. This woman was beyond saving. Just then, Marcus Jennings finally regained consciousness. "Mr. Clark, can you give us another chance? Even if we can't be married, we don't have to become enemies." Marcus was practically on his knees begging me. I glanced at him but didn't engage. Seeing this, Rosalind inexplicably got angry again, pointing at me and yelling, "Sincere Clark, if you're a man, give me a straight answer." I frowned. This family was truly exhausting. I then had someone send a bank card over to Rosalind. "Let me be perfectly clear, I agree to cancel the engagement. Furthermore, this card contains 10 million. Consider it my wedding gift to you. Please, you two, be sure to live a long and happy life together forever and ever." I stood on the stage looking down at her calmly. Rosalind was stunned for a moment while Kian immediately snatched the bank card. "Is there really 10 million in here? This is a legal gift, right? You can't take it back." Kian's face was flushed with excitement. After recovering, Rosalind shot me a triumphant look. "See, you finally get it. You can't force someone to love you. Even if you could have my body, you could never have my heart. Seeing as you gave me $1 million wedding gift, I can pretend the previous unpleasantness never happened. I'll let you know when it's time for our wedding reception." She looked at me haughtily. But no one else in the venue dared to make a sound. Marcus Jennings looked utterly despairing, almost rolling his eyes back and fainting again. "It's over. The Jennings family. We're finished." He collapsed onto the ground, utterly dejected. In the end, Rosalind led him away, and the boisterous Kian finally left. The venue remained quiet. I smiled at the crowd. "Everyone, please relax. Let's just treat today as a business gathering. I trust none of you object to me hosting you for a mixer." Instantly, almost everyone began to flatter me. "It's our honor to be invited by Mr. Clark, especially getting to meet all the esteemed figures here today." It's all thanks to you, Mr. Clark.
Yes, thanks to you, I have the chance to meet these industry leaders.
I hope for opportunities to collaborate in the future. Mr. Clark, allow me to propose a toast to you. The atmosphere shifted from dead silence to cheers of my name in less than 5 seconds. As for Rosalind and her companions, naturally, no one mentioned them again. After the party, news of Rosalind demanding to break off the engagement on the wedding day spread throughout the city. Everyone who heard about it agreed that Rosalind had lost her mind, except for one person who specifically called to mock me. Well, Mr. Clark, you've really hit a low point, haven't you? Getting dumped by someone like Rosalind Jennings? And for a male streamer who practically sells his ass? Victoria Sheridan laughed without restraint. A dark line formed on my forehead. Facing this close friend I'd known since childhood, I found myself unable to refute her. All right, that's enough. It's not like you're exactly in high demand either, right? I retorted irritably. Aha. So now you admit she dumped you, huh? Victoria seized on the slip in my words. Bullshit, wow, you're so crude. I felt like continuing this conversation would literally kill me from sheer frustration. After a moment, Victoria suddenly said, Open up, I'm at your gate. I paused, pulling up the security feed on my phone. Sure enough, there was Victoria Sheridan, dressed in high-end luxury, sitting in her car and waving at the camera. That pink Lamborghini Veneno, the only one in the city. She had taken it with her when she moved away years ago, and I hadn't seen it since. What brings you back? Didn't you say after moving away, I'd have to be the one to visit you? Seeing Victoria again felt just like old times. She bossed me around, making me brew tea for her while she sprawled on the sofa without a care in the world, as if it were her own home. Well, I heard you got your heart broken, and even had the woman chase you down to break off the engagement. Thought I'd come back and see if you'd cried yourself to death. She sat cross-legged, grinning at me. My mouth twitched. Had this woman lost her mind? It's just Rosalind Jennings. You think I'd be that heartbroken over her? I rolled my eyes at her, but Victoria looked me over carefully before saying, Scumbag. It was the wedding day. Didn't you have any feelings for her at all? Her attitude baffled me slightly. I had feelings, but I'm not sad because she left. I shook my head. The whole situation was more than anything incredibly exasperating. Besides, I wasn't the one in the wrong, so why should I be sad? Oh, right. Honestly, I was more upset back when you insisted on moving away. These past few years, I don't think I've made any new friends. No one to grab a drink with and blow off steam. I shrugged, telling Victoria. She blinked at me. Then why didn't you call and tell me? Even though I said I wouldn't come back, look, you needed something and didn't I rush right back? She unconsciously pouted. No way. I rolled my eyes again. Knowing your tendency to push boundaries, there's no way I'd ever admit I missed you. Get lost. Victoria scrambled up and aimed a headbutt at me. If I hadn't reacted quickly, it probably would have knocked my breakfast right back out. Just as we were roughhousing, the villa's main door was unlocked. Sincere Clark, are you doing this on purpose? You. Rosalind Jennings walked in, and at that moment I happened to be holding Victoria. But it was only to stop her from fighting. There was absolutely nothing else to it. Rosalind froze for 2 seconds, then erupted in fury. Well, Sincere Clark, how many days has it been since we broke up, and you're already with someone else? Are you even a man? Do you have any loyalty to love? She pointed at me, rattling off accusations. Her words were so outrageous I thought I must have misheard. Victoria pushed me away immediately, stood up and pointed right back at Rosalind. You, Jennings, did hooking up with that ass-peddling streamer starve your brain of oxygen. You cheated, got exposed online, and Sincere was still willing to go through with the wedding without blaming you. Then you yourself showed up at the wedding demanding to break it off, wanting to spend forever with that ass peddler. And now you have the audacity to lecture Sincere about loyalty? She rolled her eyes so hard they nearly disappeared into her head. It's beyond being a whore and wanting a monument. Seems like you don't even care about the monument. Victoria's face dripped with contempt. Rosalind stared at her, her face instantly flushing red. She pointed a trembling finger at Victoria, shouting, "So it was you! You bitch, I knew someone couldn't have gotten into Sincere's heart this quickly. Let me tell you the truth. Those bed photos I sent you years ago, I photoshopped them. I hadn't even managed to win Sincere over back then, but you were my biggest threat, so I had to find a reason to keep you away from him." After revealing this, Rosalind looked smug. "Didn't expect me to play you like that, did you? Now that you're back, you're still just eating my leftovers." She started mocking Victoria again with passive-aggressive jabs. Hearing this, my face darkened. So Victoria's sudden move back then was because of Rosalind? Just when I thought Victoria would be as angry as I was, she dove straight into my arms, wrapping her hands around my neck. Her warm breath tickled my ear. "Well, that's just too bad, Miss Jennings. Actually, back then, I saw how hard you were trying, and I pitied you, so I let you have Sincere." Victoria's lips curved into a smile. "I didn't expect that after all these years you haven't matured at all. Still so brainless you'd actually give up Sincere willingly. This time, I won't be so polite with that." Her red lips pressed against mine. Her soft, small tongue parted my lips, initiating a deep French kiss right then and there. Rosalind watched from the side, her eyes turning red with fury. She suddenly lunged forward and yanked me away. "Sincere Clark, how dare you kiss another woman in front of me?" She glared at me angrily, but I shook off her hand, retorting dismissively, "Miss Jennings, please show some self-respect. We have no relationship now, and you have absolutely no right to dictate anything to me." Rosalind was so angry she could barely breathe. She pointed at me, furiously stating, "I cheated, yes, but I only made a mistake that every woman might make. We were together for so long. Haven't you ever considered that treating me like this is unfair?" She sounded like she was about to cry, but watching her, I only found her even more baffling. "So, your idea of fairness is interfering in my life after demanding we break up? Can you please try using your brain before you speak next time?" I looked at her, speechless. Then, losing patience, I asked her, "Is there something you need from me? If not, please leave. You are currently trespassing." I had simply forgotten to delete her facial recognition access, which was why she could enter so easily. Only then did Rosalind seem to remember her purpose. She pointed at me, demanding, "Are you behind our family's business troubles? Why have several partners refused to work with us since the engagement was called off? They'd rather pay breach of contract penalties than continue providing us downstream resources. Dare you say this has nothing to do with you?" Looking at Rosalind's furious face, I felt increasingly certain that this woman was truly brainless. I didn't even want to answer a question. "Ask whoever refused to cooperate with your family. Don't come to me demanding explanations, okay?" With that, I waved my hand, wanting her to leave quickly. But Rosalind stubbornly refused to go. "You make them cooperate with me right now, immediately, otherwise, our family's business will definitely suffer." She stared intently at me. My patience was wearing thin. "What does your family's suffering have to do with me?" I was truly exasperated. But Rosalind countered, "How does it not have anything to do with you? Even though I didn't intend to marry you, I was still your fiancé in the past, and you helped our family for so many years, even if we can't be husband and wife. We're not enemies. You shouldn't hold a grudge against money." Hearing this truly made me laugh out of sheer anger. "What you did would have gotten you drowned in a pig cage in ancient times. And you're telling me we're not enemies?" I had completely lost my patience. "And you know I helped you for all those years? If I fed a stray dog on the street every day, would at least remember to bark a couple of times to greet me. But you?" My eyes grew colder. 70% of the Jennings family's partnerships were secured through my connections, and I was the one who saved the Jennings family from near bankruptcy years ago. Forget gratitude, now they had the gall to blame me. "Are you daring to say my family is worse than dogs?" Rosalind's face flushed red with anger again. Her focus was bizarre, and I couldn't understand what exactly she was angry about. "If you don't have time, just get out. Don't disturb Sincere and me being intimate. Go find your Kian." Victoria rolled her eyes again. Her contemptuous tone was like shooing away a stray dog. Rosalind's breathing grew heavier. She asked me, her voice trembling with tears, "Sincere Clark, dare you say you have absolutely no feelings left for me? How could you get together with someone else right after breaking up with me?" I was truly at my wit's end with her antics. "What exactly do you want? You were the one who cheated. You were the one who demanded the breakup. I fulfilled all your requests, and now you're trying to make demands of me." Done arguing, I directly called the villa community's security to escort her out. As Rosalind was being led away, she specifically shouted at me, "You just wait. I'll definitely have Kian expose you two adulterers. Get ready to be cyberbullied." I didn't even glance her way. Victoria watched her leave with a look of pity dripping with sarcasm. After Rosalind left, the world was finally quiet, followed by a strange, palpable awkwardness. Victoria quickly pulled away from my embrace, sat down beside me, and picked up her teacup. This teacup really looks like a teacup. As soon as the words left her mouth, her ears turned red. Looking at this close friend whom I'd known practically since birth, I suddenly felt a sense of clarity. What had she been to me all this time? A mischievous friend from adolescence? A classmate I studied hard with? Or family, someone I wanted to share every joy and sorrow with? It turned out the person I had been searching for was right beside me all along. Thinking this, I pulled Victoria towards me and kissed the lips that had just offered themselves, firmly this time. A momentary panic flashed in Victoria's beautiful eyes, quickly replaced by an even more eager response. Victoria didn't leave that day. The next morning, she had breakfast ready and waiting for me. Ever since I started living alone, I hadn't hired any maids. I disliked having strangers in my house. This feeling of being taken care of was wonderfully strange. So, are we now? I sat down about to ask when Victoria stuffed a piece of European bread into my mouth. Her face was flushed. "Let's get this straight. I didn't plan on getting together with you. Last night was just an accident." She kept her head down. I froze, a wave of disappointment washing over me. This felt completely different from when Rosalind left. Perhaps this was what falling in love felt like. Then Victoria looked up. "You have to pursue me, otherwise I won't be with you." She looked at me fiercely. I was stunned for a moment, then overjoyed. "Okay, I'll pursue you." Looking into Victoria's eyes, I said the words I'd never uttered before in my life. Afterward, successfully winning Victoria over was entirely expected. During this time, I tried to understand Rosalind. Perhaps some people really could change one's perspective on love. But I quickly dismissed that thought regarding Rosalind. If cheating was the prerequisite for change, then it was something I would never do. Over the following period, Victoria and I were practically inseparable, growing increasingly familiar with each other. Just as I was preparing to propose to Victoria, Rosalind suddenly launched a smear campaign online. Everyone's been calling me a cheating woman lately, but what I want to tell you today is that Sincere Clark was the one who cheated first. I was heartbroken after his infidelity. If it weren't for Kian, I never would have gotten through it. She sobbed tearfully into the camera. All of this was broadcast live using Kian's account, and his tens of millions of followers were no joke. On the day of the live stream, searches related to me on search engines spiked, exceeding hundreds of millions of clicks. Having tasted success, Rosalind went live again, claiming I was the reason Jennings Motors was facing hostility from all sides, even publicly soliciting business partnerships. Does being rich make you invincible? Family, you all know what kind of person Kian is. If he hadn't been born poor, would trash like Sincere Clark even get to be rich in this world? Family, please help report him if you can. Boycott the Clark family's businesses. We can't let capitalists like him run rampant. Rosalind attacked relentlessly online. Initially, I dismissed her as a clown. My businesses were mostly multinational, and Kian's followers weren't my target customers. But she became increasingly excessive, and my inaction allowed public opinion to sway. That's when I finally ordered my legal team to take action. During this period, Marcus Jennings repeatedly came to my company to apologize, begging me to let Rosalind off. But when it came to having Rosalind issue a clarification, he hesitated. Fine, then I would help him. In just a day and a half, the legal team gathered all the evidence of Rosalind's slander. They timed the release perfectly, broadcasting a clarification across all networks during Kian's appearance at a major video platform's annual gala. The attention garnered by the annual gala dwarfed anything Kian could achieve alone, and I had the power to make the entire gala pause momentarily for my lawyers to deliver their statement. While over half the country's netizens were watching the gala, the host made an emergency announcement. Regarding the recent emotional dispute between Mr. Clark and Miss Jennings, Mr. Clark's professional legal team is here with us today. They will provide the most authoritative and detailed explanation. The announcement stunned everyone. Being able to interrupt the annual gala like this, what kind of person is he? I searched online for this Mr. Clark, not much info, but confirmed net worth in the hundreds of billions? Is this how rich people handle PR? The live comment stream filled with related remarks. The lawyers then presented all the evidence they had gathered. Rosalind's slander was easily disproven. Records showed exactly when and how many times she and Kian had booked hotel rooms. Evidence also showed how she used my money to fund Kian's company. The fact that 70% of her family's past partnerships were facilitated by me was revealed, and even the companies that had severed ties issued statements clarifying their reasons. This information effortlessly debunked Rosalind's lies. More importantly, after this incident, Kian was completely banned from all online platforms. Not only that, he had to pay hefty breach of contract penalties to his agency, and all the brands he had collaborated with sued him. Once Kian's actions were exposed, all his past misdeeds came to light, leading to widespread boycotts of products he advertised. Almost overnight, Kian was buried in debt. After handling all this, I officially proposed to Victoria in a dream castle by the sea. That night, I replaced fireworks with a sky full of drones. 3 months passed, bringing us close to the wedding date. This dreamlike sequence was the beginning of my happiness. On the wedding day, I was as nervous as a young boy. Finally, I kissed Victoria, completing the ceremony witnessed by all our guests. As the guests were leaving, I noticed Rosalind downstairs. "Sincere, it's me, Rosalind. You can't marry that woman. The person you love is me," she was screaming like a madwoman. Seeing me emerge, she tried to rush forward, but security guards held her back firmly. I gave her one cold look. How could I possibly ever have been with such a lunatic? A moment later, Kian rushed out from the side of the road. He kicked Rosalind hard. "Damn it, I told you to get money and you run here begging your ex-boyfriend to take you back? You think you can dump me? You're stuck with me for life." He grabbed Rosalind's hair and practically dragged her into his car. The car door slammed shut. Inside, Rosalind frantically screamed for my help. But all of this was her own choice. What did it have to do with me? Later, while Victoria and I were on our honeymoon, Rosalind called again, begging me for a loan to tide her family over. Jennings Motors was about to declare bankruptcy, already billions in debt. But looking at Victoria nestled in my arms, I resolutely refused her. "I won't let you get away with this," Rosalind shrieked. Unfortunately for her, she wouldn't get the chance. The day I returned from my honeymoon, I heard the news because Rosalind couldn't get the money to fund Kian's extravagant lifestyle. He had stabbed her over 30 times. Kian had been arrested for intentional homicide, and the full force of the law awaited him. I didn't dwell on it. After all, from now on, my focus should be on my new life with Victoria.